Welcome to another episode of the Waffle Shop podcast. Today, I'm joined by singer, songwriter, and big Dolly Parton fan. It's Cate. Welcome to the Waffle
Hi.
Shop.
Thank you for having me. I'm
So
really
it generally
excited.
it's a pleasure. We were saying before we hit the record button. Obviously, you just performed at a festival, so
Yeah,
I
I
wanted to
did
launch. Oh no,
launch
sorry,
into that.
carry on. See, this is what I do. This is what I literally invite my guests on. I just talk over them.
Oh no,
So carry
was
on.
literally I was talking over you. Oh God. But yeah, I was at two festivals this weekend. I was just saying we went to Inverness and then the Lake District, so it was really fun.
Love
It's good.
that. Is there a diff? Because obviously you're obviously from the other side of the pond. Is there a difference between UK festivals and obviously, I guess, worldwide festivals? Is there, because obviously I've spoke to people before and they say that something about like the UK festival scene that is just like really magic compared to like other
Yeah,
festivals.
I think it's more feral over here, like in a really fun way.
Yes. Yes.
Um, but I haven't really played because I kind of started releasing my own music, like this project, while I've been over here, like in COVID. So I've been to Calgary Stampede and like Canadian festivals, but I've never really played them. I was in a country band when I was 16 and we played a few like country festivals, but that's a very different vibe than over here. So like they're very different, but I don't know. I guess especially compared to like the country festivals I was playing, they're way more feral in
Yeah.
like a really fun way. And like the like we don't like I feel like festivals, except I guess Coachella maybe, there's not as much like fancy dress and like stuff, which is like
Yeah.
a term I didn't even know until I like moved over here. It's like people dressed as wizards.
Oh, Richard, would they not have like fancy dress
I
elsewhere?
maybe I'm missing out on it, but not to like a regular festival, no.
Oh, wow.
I think it's really like unless I'm completely, like under a rock, but in Canadian festivals, there's one like kind of near my house, called like Rock and River.
Hmm.
And like it's a country music festival and nobody dresses up. You wear like cowboy boots and stuff, but like there's nobody rocking up in like wizard costume or like you know what I mean? Like there's nobody like with massive lights on themselves and everything. I feel like it's pretty specifically to the UK,
I think
that
it's
is.
very British as well to dress as wizards.
I love
Thing.
it. I literally love it. It's amazing.
But speaking of, the conversation's got off to a flying start. The positive vibes are there. However, I do start each one of my shows with something quite negative that basically the problem ends up being me rather than the actual thing that I'm going to moan about. Um,
Funny.
so yeah, this is called the Weekly Waffle, and this is something that once I got off my chest, it makes me feel a little bit better. So feel free to get involved.
Okay.
And to be fair, this is an interesting one because I don't know whether this is just a British thing or if
Mm.
this is like everyone does this. And I had friends over at the weekend and I spent like probably the best part of like 2, 3 hours getting the house ready, like tidying around. And the first thing I said when they walked in the door was, sorry about the mess. And I don't know whether it's just like, but then it's like, I have actually just cleaned. But then they were like, oh no, don't worry about it. So like that 3 hours of cleaning that I just did, I don't know whether it was actually worth it. So
It feels like a British thing that you just did. Maybe
yeah.
I think it's very similar to Canada as well. It's like, sorry for existing. Sorry for entering my home. So
Dressed as a
funny.
wizard.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Is there anything that you'd like to get off your chest? Is there anything that gets on your nerves that you'd like to share with us today?
Oh, that's a great question. You caught me in a good day. I don't know. Maybe if you caught me, I know
Incredible.
it's like, you know what I mean? It's like 12. It's Tuesday, it's early in the week. I haven't had anything crazy happen to me this week. So if you asked me this when my flight was delayed from Inverness on Friday, I probably would have given you the biggest spiel, but I'm feeling good today. But
That's what
that's
we
about it.
like.
Yeah, that's nice. But yeah, my flight was delayed coming back from Inverness, which was actually fine if I was in Inverness, but I was in the airport. So, I mean, it was fine though. What are you going to do?
To
Easy
be fair,
jet.
there's only so many things you can do in an airport as well, isn't it? Like once you've seen like all like you've visited every kind of food stall,
I know.
like you've kind of done
That's
it
about it.
all.
I know I really learned some things about myself. That was it.
Oh, as she takes a sip of her tea.
I know. Sorry, I have a really big, really huge mug of tea. Sorry. I hope nobody hears my slurping.
No, it's good. It's all good. They're probably, I'd say, so they're used to it on the show, but then realized that probably sounded worse than what it needed to. So I'm going to quickly scoot past that. I love when I have a musical guest on the show because I'd like to kind of deep dive into their journey into music. So I've had like people on the show before who have been to see like a certain artist, or they listened to an album, or they fell in love with an instrument that kind of kick-started their musical journey. How did your journey into music start?
Oh, good question. I grew up listening to Dolly Parton. Like, I'm a huge Dolly Parton fan. And then I feel like as that kept going, my mom put me in piano lessons when I was like 4. And then when I was there, I saw people learning guitar and I was like, oh my God, I was like, Taylor Swift plays guitar. I was like, I want to play guitar. And then the first album that I like learned how to play like on guitar was like Casey Musgraves, like Same Trailer, Different Park.
Nice.
So that whole album like just changed the way I thought about like playing guitar and like, doing music and writing music. So I would like bass and Miranda Lambert. I would like listen to their songs, and my guitar teacher, he'd make me change the lyrics to them. So I'd like sing the same melodies as like, it's basically I just wrote my own version of a song, but it was so good to like teach me how to write music and everything. So I guess that's how it started, just the country girlies.
Do you know, that's really interesting though, because to be fair, I think that's the first time anyone's ever answered that question like that.
Mm.
Did you find when you were kind of writing like your words across obviously some of these obviously some of the biggest country songs ever,
Yeah.
that was almost like you were telling your own story, but with other people's mute? I don't know. Yeah.
It was a lot worse than any of those
Yeah.
versions, but it was good because it kind of opened up, like there wasn't the stress of writing. It wasn't as scary as writing just a whole new song. So then it was really good, and then it made songwriting not as scary to me. So then I did start writing my own melodies like a little bit after that. But I was like 11 when I was doing that, so I think it was just such a good like intro into like writing music and stuff. Made it a bit less scary.
That's good to fair. It's a nice little kind of like stepping stone into obviously some of the like the anthems that you've created now. You mentioned there that obviously you're from Canada,
Yeah.
that you're now in the UK.
Yeah.
How did that? Obviously, what sparked the move?
I went over here on a like just like every person's Europe UK trip when I was like 13 years old, and I was writing for an artist Kian over here at the time, and I was thinking about moving to the States for music because I'm from like a farm town outside of Vancouver, so
Yeah.
there's not a lot of sessions and writing for other people there. There's a great music scene in Vancouver, but not like for writing for other people as much. So I was either going to move to LA, or when I came here, somebody told me how easy it was to get a visa. So I applied and I got it, and I moved in like a month. Yeah. And
Love
then
that.
now I was stuck here during COVID, and then I ended up staying, which was great. I'm glad.
Well, you're one of us now, so
Yeah.
welcome to the team.
I'm
We'll
here
get
now,
you a wizard hat in the post.
honestly.
There's
Perfect.
gonna be so much of this now because you've started it. It's gonna be like related
I
throughout.
know. When we're
Um,
talking about British people's wizards.
that's what we all are. Um, if when it comes to like this like like those songwriting kind of like camps or the sessions and stuff like that, do you draw on your own experiences to like push into like their songs? Because obviously I know like obviously you've got like your albums and like your own work. Do you find it easier doing that for you or doing that for someone else?
Ooh, I think when I'm writing for other people, my main job is to try and get them to like tell me as much as they can about the certain thing they want to write about, which is one of my favorite things to do. It's just like gossiping and then writing a song, which is great. I don't know. I was asked this question a few times in the past month, is like whether it's easier to write my songs or other people's. I think sometimes I put more pressure on myself to write my own songs,
Yeah.
but then sometimes they can come easier because I can write my own music anytime. Where writing for other people, like it's like in a studio usually, like with the time and everything. So there's not as much like flexibility, and I try not to bring in ideas for other people because I don't want to push my I don't want to push my shit on them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It just depends on the day because sometimes writing for other people is the easiest thing ever if you have like an amazing. I've been lucky to write with some amazing like artists who know what they're gonna say. So it's just like it's really great.
To be fair, you said Kean there. Is that Kean DeCrow?
Mm-hmm.
Incredible guy. Incredible.
Yeah,
He was
has he been
actually
on here?
he's been on the podcast. He
Oh,
actually played
cool.
my I'd say my home, not my home, my hometown recently.
Oh, cool. Where are
And
you
it
from?
was Coventry in the
Oh, nice.
Midlands.
Cool.
Um, and it was really nice because at the time, I think I can't remember what song it was. One with Ella Henderson. No,
Mm,
I'll Be
all for
Waiting
you. Oh, okay, that one.
was just about to like it was just kind of taking off. And to see like hear the story behind it and then to then watch it on stage, it was like a real kind of like moment to be like, oh,
Cool.
okay, he was a part of like something that I've created to then watch something that he'd created.
Yeah, cool.
Do you
Great.
get like with your own work when you're standing on stage and you're kind of, you're singing like the almost like telling your story? Um, do you get like a real kind of like sense of like, I don't know, like pride or anything when you have like those kind of songs sang back to you?
Yeah, I just think it's crazy how anyone knows any lyrics to my songs, which was like so cool. I had that at Kendal Calling this weekend because it was raining and then there was no one at the stage before we got on. And then there was just like suddenly there was like 2,000 people at our stage. And
Wow.
then like some of them knew the words and were just dancing. And so I was just like, this is so cool. Like, I'm like, how do you know my music? Also, I'm from Canada. So it's crazy how someone up in like the Lake District knows my music. But yeah, I have that all the time. I think it's just insane because I used to be in like bands and you go to a venue and like nobody knows what you're doing. Nobody knows the songs. Nobody gives a shit. So it's so cool to like, I'm really grateful to play shows where people like are invested and like care about the music, which is just, yeah, I never take it for granted.
To be fair, it kind of sparked the question because I was kind of I was looking through like your Instagram and there was a post you did, but obviously when you supported Maisie Peters, and it was you at the Hammersmith Apollo and all the lights were on, and it's almost like I love how music does this anyway. Obviously, I wasn't at there, but watching that, I was just like, I obviously this is the first time I've met you, but I was like, wow, like you created this kind of like space for people just to kind of like bout like their emotions out and stuff. Um, when it comes to like your songwriting and kind of telling your story, like what's your like main kind of like inspiration?
Oh, I think since I've been play it always changes, and since I've been playing live, I just want to write something that because I feel like Can't Wait to Be Pretty is one of the songs in my set that I look forward to the most because it's like it doesn't even feel like my song anymore. It feels like their song. Like when I like because I used to dread playing it because it's like pretty it's just really like emotionally like raw and open. So I'd kind of like dread playing it just in case there's someone in the room that like didn't, they're just like, oh, this is shit. But now it's my favorite song to play because everyone's taken it over. And I think I kind of like look for that to happen again when I'm writing. Like I'm really aware of like what, will relate to people. And I try and just be as like open as I can because I don't know, it pays off. Because that song was
Yeah.
I did not want to release it. And then it came out because I like posted a clip of it. And thank God because I love that song. But yeah, hopefully one day I'll do like a big version of that song because right now it's
Do,
only a demo.
do you think there's like an element of freedom when it comes to this? Because obviously there's quite a lot of obviously experience that like you as a singer-songwriter that you kind of like you pull on whether it's good, bad, like the ugly or whatever you want to label it as kind of thing when it comes into like, creating these like bodies of work. Um, when it comes to releasing it, is there like a level of kind of like panic or like how are you feeling before like a song gets released?
Um, oh, I usually get really nervous. I don't know. I'm less nervous. I'm less nervous now because I've had like quite a few songs come out. But I don't know. The more like open the song is, the scarier the day is. Like when I'm just releasing like confident pop girly songs, I'm never too scared unless like yeah. But Can't Wait to Be Pretty and songs like that were really scary to release. But I don't know. Sometimes the like scary ones have the best reward. But then yeah, I don't know. It's just nerve wracking. Yeah.
I love these kind of conversations, purely because it's like you can almost feel like how much kind of like emotion goes into some of the songs and stuff, and then to have like that almost kind of be released, and then it kind of soundtracks like that what that person's going through, and it almost I've always found this, especially with like lyrics. With I mean, I'm not musically talented in the slightest, but sometimes when I listen to music, it says what I can't say. which I
Mm.
think, especially songs like you just mentioned, like there might be someone listening in that crowd, like going through like that real kind of like tough time that you might have gone through, and you've almost given them their voice. Like
Oh,
it's
that's so
literally, it's
cool.
so powerful.
I know because I have that with music too. I think those are the songs, and like that's why I love country music, as I find like country music always finds a way to say things that like I've never even thought about before. So I think that's like, yeah, it's just the best feeling in the world when you find that song and you're like, this is what I've been thinking for years, but I've never like put it to paper and stuff.
It's powerful though, isn't it? There's something about country music for me that is very cinematic. Like
Hmm.
it's the kind of the genre of music that really kind of paints a picture. It's like you can almost feel the heat of the sun. Like you can almost, you know, like if, I
Yeah,
mean, I've never been to that kind of like side of the world where
yeah,
obviously where it was kind of born, but it almost takes you there when it
yeah,
comes to country
totally.
music.
Yeah, I know. I just went to Nashville for the first time and I was like, I get it now. Like, and everyone's so good. You're just like, how do you write? You know what I mean? Like, how do you show up every day and write like that good of a song?
Was that the
They
main
have
kind
something.
of?
Sorry.
Sorry, carry on.
Oh, I was saying they have something figured out, but I.
Well, to be fair, it's working because obviously with your obviously the work that you're creating now, like I really get like a sense of that. There's a lot of and there's a song that you but to be fair, I need to tell you about like You Want Me because it is an absolute banger.
Okay.
Like that was that made me pull a face earlier when I heard that. Like I was like, okay, so you know that
Yay.
you've done something right. Um, but it'll only get better. There's a line in one of the songs, and it just kind of it gave me that bit of reassurance today that I was like, oh, okay, it might not feel like it now, but it will get better.
Oh, I'm so glad.
So
I know. I feel like I was listening to a lot of Shania Twain when I wrote that, and then I just needed that song. But it's fun. It's like I've tried to have a lot more fun with music this year, so I hope it's like kind of coming through.
definitely. I mean, I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or dance. It was great.
That's exactly what I want, Taylor.
There you go. There you go. Job well done. What songs were playing or like music was playing like when you were growing up? Was country like the main kind of inspiration?
Yeah, I just listened to a lot of Dolly Parton. I grew up watching Hannah Montana, so I can't lie. That was a really big inspiration. I'm trying to think what like Shania Twain was always playing in the house like constantly when my mom like I just knew it was time to grab a mop when my mom was playing Celine Dion or Shania Twain, which is so fun. Like I'd hear
Love
it at
that.
like 8 a.m. in the morning and I was like, oh God.
It's one of them
And
days.
grab the broom. But yeah, I don't know. I just think listening to those women I like my grandpa is like a huge Johnny Cash fan. So I kind of like listened to that. And it's a lot of country music. And then I kind of steered, like classic 13-year-old teenager. I was like, I hate country music. I'm never listening to it again. So I went through a phase of just like resenting that all I heard was country music. So I got into a big like Lana Del Rey 1975, like every angsty
Yeah.
teenager. And then I feel like now I've circled back and listening to especially Lana Del Rey, I'm like, there's so many country influences and there's like so much of the same songwriting. So now I've really doubled down on loving country. But yeah.
I love that. I love these conversations. It would be rude of me to have you on the show and not talk about the album, which, by the way, I think is probably one of the best album titles I've like seen or heard in a very long time because it immediately took me to a place where I was like, have I ever said anything that I would take back? Obviously, the album's called Tell Me Things You Won't Take Back.
Thank you.
Tell me
Yeah,
about it.
I know. Well, I need to fix that. It's an EP. It's just a really long EP. I haven't released an album yet because I call it an EP because if I had called it an album, it would really freak me out. But yeah, I don't know. I wrote it over the span of 2 years, and I mean, a lot of the songs are more sad than any of the ones I've been putting out this year. But yeah, it was kind of like a culmination of every song that I loved and like that I wrote in the past 2 years. And I wrote a lot of the songs in my bedroom, and I don't know. It's just I love that EP so much. And I did it with my friend Joe Rubel. He produced basically almost the whole thing. But yeah, it was really good. It was a really like sweet process because I wrote still a lot of the songs in COVID, but it was a lot when I was like reflecting on past things and then living in London, which I think like that's kind of intertwined in there. It's just like a lot of British name dropping.
Yeah. A lot of wizards on that album. So I will let it go. That'll be the last time, I promise. Um, It's fair. You mentioned something there that, you kind of like it was over that kind of like 2 year period of all those kind of songs. And then now, obviously, a lot of your songs, as you said, are very kind of like more upbeat, they're a bit more dancey. Is it safe to say that kind of with that kind of EP, a lot of stuff was kind of like you were able to let go of to now be in
Mm,
this position where you can explore that kind of more of a fun side?
totally. I think I always said like that EP was like really telling everyone like who I am, especially like my first two EPs. And then this year I'm just releasing singles. So I was like, I can kind of do whatever I want and feel like, because the scary thing with me with really like upbeat and happy songs, well, I don't even know if they're like happy, they're just upbeat, is like people not thinking they're like deep enough, or like I just overthink it a lot. So I don't know. I just wanted to have more fun this year. And then I feel like I need both sides to write both. So now I'm kind of back in the same mindset as I was as the EP, writing sad shit again. But yeah, I need to
If
release
it's
You Want Me.
healthy though, it's a
Yeah,
like
it's
it's
good.
literally there's a very famous song in the UK by Ronan Keating called Life's a Roller Coaster, and he wasn't lying.
He wasn't
Life
lying.
is a
Life is
roller
a
coaster.
roller coaster. Life's a highway, you know?
Exactly. Um, is there like moments, because especially when it comes, I found it especially from like a podcast point of view, there's certain episodes and stuff that are released that are almost like a snapshot of how I was feeling at that time, that sometimes, I wanted to throw in the towel. I wanted to kind of like, you know what, this is it, I don't want to do this anymore kind of thing. And then I'll be sat having this conversation now like in a completely different like
Yeah.
mindset, like having a laugh. Is there certain songs for you that you look back on and almost, I don't know, are difficult to sing or are difficult to go back to, or even songs that, from an upbeat point of view that you're like, oh, do you know what? On the bad days, I'm like,
Yeah.
I remember when it was like, it's not all bad. I can get back to that place.
That's such a good question. I feel like the earlier songs in my EP, like Funny Story and Stupid, always like take me back to like when I first like really wanted to like release my project. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's hard because I write a lot of songs. Like I write like a few hundred songs a year for my
Wow.
project. So it's like sometimes I'll get into like everyone does, like I'll get just writer's block, and I just, that's my biggest fear, is being in a session and not being able to write that day, because I don't know, I think it's something I need to work on, is not feeling like I have to prove myself to every single person. But yeah, and then when I listened to like Funny Story and Stupid, I wasn't referencing anything. I wasn't like really, I didn't really care about what people thought about it because I didn't think anyone was going to listen to it. So I feel like I need to, like, I always go in, like when I play those songs live, I'm like, oh, okay, this is like what I'm doing, which
Hmm.
is nice. But yeah, I don't have any songs yet that I'm like, oh God, I wish I didn't release that. But there's a few that I definitely don't like playing as much as the others, but I probably will just play them.
It's interesting because I always get, like people who have like a big, massive song. Like, do you reckon like Rihanna ever got like sick of singing like Umbrella?
Maybe. I don't know. See, I don't know though. I guess it just depends who you are as a person. I don't know. Maybe she didn't. But
Yeah,
I don't know. If something made me that much money, I'd be singing it every night.
that's true. Yeah,
That's
that's true.
I don't really get like people who don't sing their like most famous songs. I don't really understand it because like for me, even like my biggest songs, if I'm like really sick of them, I just feel like even to the small level that I am, I'm like, oh, like this got me somewhere. Like this
Yeah.
helped me be able to do these shows. So I feel like it's hard when you go to shows and they don't play their like biggest hit. I just don't get it.
Well, it's
I'm like,
part of
that's
the
your biggest
journey,
hit.
isn't it?
Yeah, and like denying that, because so many people are like, people just like this song and they don't like my whole project. And it's like some people just want the song,
Yeah.
which is okay, which is totally okay. Like they're still like paying money to go and see you, and like give them what they want.
I
But
get a real sense from you that something about like being on that stage is exactly like where you're supposed to be.
oh, thank you. I mean, I love it. I think it's like every single time I get in the mood that I'm like I'm quitting, which is rare, but I think it's good. My friends have a thing called Quitmas. So a few times a year we're allowed to be like we're quitting, and we're not quitting, obviously, because but it's healthy to be in Quitmas. And I don't know, every single time I then play a show, I'm like, obviously I'm not quitting. Like this is the best thing ever. I'm very lucky to do this job. Like I was nannying for the first 2 years that I was in London, and I
Wow.
absolutely loved it. Like I loved being a nanny, but it was hard to do both. And now I get to do music full time. I'm like, I'm never, ever, ever being ungrateful for this job.
Love that. How do you navigate those kind of like feelings of like, as you said, Quitmas? Like obviously that to be fair, I think that's probably one of the healthiest things I've ever heard on this show. Because it's so I feel like everyone should celebrate this.
Everyone should celebrate Quitmas. It's my friend Geneva and my friend Rory who came up with it. And I just think it makes me feel better because I feel like sometimes if I'm having like a bad day in music, if I push it down, then it turns into like a bad week. Where if you celebrate Quitmas, then it's over. Like there's only one Quitmas, and then the next day you wake up and it's fine. But I don't know.
There's something there, honestly.
There's something there.
You need to do something because I genuinely think that's one of the best things I've actually ever heard on this show. Because there
The
is so many
best.
times when you want to like throw in the towel, and it's like you said, like those days can turn into like weeks and then months sometimes, just like, Joe, what, this isn't for me. And
Mm-hmm.
when things get like, other than kind of Quitmas, is there anything that like maybe like a coping mechanism or anything like that that you kind of lean into when things do get a little bit kind of heavy?
Yeah, I think it always like for me whenever I feel like the most down about music is when I'm like constantly comparing myself to other people. So I just go and do something completely unrelated to music, or I'll go and like spend time with my mom. Like I'll go home. Like I kind of had that a few months ago. I was like, I'm so excited to like make an album and do things and do music. And but sometimes like especially like I'm so far away from home, and a lot of my friends who do music, they're so far away from home. So it's good to like, I don't know, kind of go and see my mom and stuff. And then I
Yeah.
never want to quit. Like I'll never quit music. It's just more like it's good to have, I guess it's healthy to have bad days because
Yeah.
any other job you have bad days. So
Also, and to be fair, there's something quite powerful in recognizing the bad day because it is just a day. And I love the fact that you go and see your mom, like you go and see your friends and stuff because we're in this kind of generation of sometimes we don't give ourselves what we need because we sometimes like feel guilty that we have to like show up all of the time when it's in
mm-hmm.
those kind of days when we do want to throw in the towel, those little visits with your mom, or even if it's just like it's journaling for me,
Yeah, that's nice.
that it's like, oh, okay, I can do this. It's just a bad day.
Yeah, and I don't know if you find this too. I find especially in the creative industry, actually I think in all industries, like so many people lie about how they're feeling with their jobs because there's this sense of if I admit that it's hard, people won't think I'm deserving of this job. Where I don't know, I just the more like I talk about it with I'm really lucky. Like my friends in music, like a lot of my friends are songwriters and then artists. So we all kind of get to chat about all those things. We're very open to like
Yeah.
how it can be. So I couldn't imagine doing it without that support.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think like more people should talk about, especially the beginning stages. They're just gonna have weird days.
It's true. You're absolutely spot on. I mean, I wouldn't be sat here having this conversation now if I didn't talk about the bad days and recognize the bad days. But one thing quickly before we move on, comparison is the thief of joy.
Mm-hmm.
So I say it quite a lot on the show, so I just wanted to drop that in there. It's like you're doing that, you're smashing it.
Oh,
Stop
thank
it.
you. I know it is. Like yeah, I totally it is. It's just silly, but everyone does it.
Weirdos, the lot of us.
I
Um,
know.
the UK tour, for
Yeah.
people who haven't been to a Cate show, obviously you're taking this to every major city now, pretty much in the UK.
In the UK.
In the UK, for now,
Yeah. I know for
worldwide
now.
soon.
Hopefully North America soon. Hopefully and Europe. Yeah, I'm so excited. I can't wait. These are like the biggest venues I've done for my own music, so I can't wait. It's almost like I was told yesterday it's like 75, 80% sold out or something. So we'll see. Hopefully, like the whole tour,
That
which
is
will be fun.
incredible.
So that'll be fun. So hopefully people show up. But
How is that like getting those kind of like that feedback? Because again, like that to me is like you can't argue with the facts. Those days when like the imposter syndrome might be seeping in, or the self-doubt, or like, oh, do you know what, can I do this? That right there is proof that you're doing exactly what you should be doing.
Oh,
You
thank you.
can't argue with the facts.
Yeah, someone's spending £11 on a ticket, like for me, which is
Yeah.
crazy. So I'm like vibes. But yeah,
What
it'll
can
be
people
fun. It's a whole
expect?
new show too. Like I'm doing a whole new show because I've been opening with the same like song, kind of closing with the same songs for the past like year because I've only been really like touring and doing my project for like as in after COVID because I released music in COVID for the first time. So I've only been doing the live part for like a year and a bit. So it's kind of been the same ish show, but this fall tour will be a whole different show and it'll be longer and like there'll be, yeah, I'm just so excited. It sounds so
I
cool.
could feel it. Did you like? I feel like you kind of like stepped up a little bit then. It was like this is. Um, I have three questions that I always ask on the show, and feel free to be as honest with this. And there's no wrong answer with this either. But if there is a song, and I can't imagine it takes a lot to get Cate on the dance floor, what song needs to be playing?
Oh yeah, go on. Maybe, oh wow, hard question. Maybe you'll always find your way back home. Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus. That will get me on the floor. 9 to 5, Dolly Parton.
Oh, classic.
That'll get me going.
And do you know what? To be fair, there's something about, and there's like a meme that I see all the time, and it makes me laugh. About when, regardless of who you are, as soon as you hear "Let's go, girls,"
Oh
you're
yeah.
going.
Oh, totally. You're going. That's so funny. You're going. Yeah, Shania Twain, Salt, yeah, all of them. But
On
yeah.
the flip side of that, is there a song or an album that kind of like that you would lean into if you were having a bit of an emotional day that
Oh
brings
my
that
God.
kind of out in you?
Um, oh, Golden Hour by Casey Musgraves is one of my favorite albums of all time. And then I Can't Make You Love Me is the best song ever.
I just got when you said
So
that
like
the
best song
goosebumps.
ever. If I need to cry, I will be listening to that song.
There's a version. I was very fortunate to be at a Adele show once, and she covered that song.
Oh my God.
And so even talking about it, the goosebumps on my arm,
Oh my
like
God.
there is something very, very powerful about that song.
It's just perfect. I genuinely think that's like in my top three most perfect songs ever. But yeah.
Love that. And then, okay, final question. If there was a song that you would put in a box, wrap a chain around it, and just kick it in the ocean and never hear from it again, what song would it be?
Funny. Oh, I don't want to piss anyone off.
Oh no, it's all right. We've had a wide range of answers with this.
Like
There's no
never
beef on
hear
this show.
again. Never hear again. What is something? Oh, God, this is so hard because I just don't listen to things I don't like.
Well, that's good. That's interesting. It might just be like so overplayed, or it's just been kind of. We've had like all sorts. We've had Crazy Frog. We've had Old Town Road. We had
Oh, I
Who
was a
Let the
nanny,
Dogs
so I'm
Out.
gonna do what's it? Baby Shark. I never want to hear that in my life again. I happily will say this. I was a nanny, so I'm like, get it away. That's good.
He's
I
here
want to offend
today.
everyone. Yeah, can you imagine? Oh my God. I know a few, but yeah, that's probably the easiest one to say.
You have been brilliant to waffle
Thank
with,
you.
and honestly, like, keep going with the music because it is incredible. Like, honestly, the live shows, if you haven't already got tickets, where are you going and where can people get tickets?
I am going all around England and Dublin. So
One of the
Irish
best
friends.
cities.
I'm so excited. So you can get tickets. All of the links are in my like Instagram and everything bio. But if you don't, you could just look up Cate Official, and then all of the dates are there. So yeah, please come,
It's
please.
gonna be a party.
I know it's gonna be so fun, and I have Elle Coves opening up for me, and she's amazing. So it's gonna be a fun time.
We love this. Right. Best of luck. And thank you so much for joining me for a waffle.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun.